Vikings have been around since 1961. And I just want them to win a damn Super Bowl before I die. Welcome to Before I Die with Judd and Jesse on Purple Daily and Score North.
Just one before we die. Maybe it will be this year. Maybe, guys, maybe the Minnesota Vikings are going to shock the world. They certainly shocked the San Francisco 49ers. Big victory Monday Night Football. Let's just dive right into it. I'm Jesse Pierce, obviously writer for NHL.com, host of Bar Down Beauties. He's Judd Zulgad, Mr. Positivity, our favorite Minnesota sports dad. And over here we got producer Ross. Ross, why do you love the Minnesota Vikings so much?
Well, typically it's because the pain lets me know I'm still alive, but pain, I feel like I just got a cortisone injection. Let's go.
Let's go. So we're all like back on, right? Like we're that wagon that pulled on through late last night. We're all like, hey, yeah, there's room for 3 more.
I'm waiting to see what happens on Sunday in Green Bay before I officially get back on.
That's
like
fair.
There's a chance here.
There's a chance. And I think that's what makes the Minnesota Vikings so tumultuous, right? We were all off. We were writing them off. Hey, let's trade away the squad. But you guys, Minnesota looked probably the best they have all season without Justin Jefferson. Let's dive into the pieces that were particularly good, including that quarterback of ours, Minnesota's very own Kirk Cousins. Is that one of the best games he has played, do you guys think, in a Vikings uniform? 35 for 45, 378 yards, 2 touchdowns. What are we thinking about Mr. Cousins?
I think it's one of his best games, definitely. And I mean, he's played some good games. But I think when you consider the situation also, that game was impressive because no one gave, for the most part, the Vikings a chance. I go back to like the Buffalo game in Buffalo last year. I'm sure the stats weren't the same because of the weather, but that was a pretty damn good game. And although Jefferson made that great catch in that game, Kirk still had to throw the ball. And so I'm loath to say that it was easily his best because I think he definitely last year had some really nice games, especially with comebacks. But that was a pretty doggone complete performance after pass number 2 in the first series went for a pick. So I give Cousins and this offense a lot of credit.
That's what does it for me, Judd. After he throws that interception on a pass that I said at the time you just can't throw. There was no separation, no need to throw that ball. I get why you're trying to get your passing game going. But after that, pretty darn flawless. And hat tip to the offensive line for keeping him upright. Judd and Jesse, last night from Kirk Cousins, we actually saw something we so seldomly don't see. Pocket presence.
Right?
He could sense pressure. He was stepping up in the pocket. Late in the game, he should have been sacked. I think what happened was you had 2 converging sides. They actually kept him upright. And that allowed him to make a big pass late in the game to keep the drive going. He was really good last night. There's always going to be things you can nitpick, right? It's football. It's an imperfect game. You're never going to be perfect. So there's plenty to nitpick, but he is as big of a reason, if not the biggest reason, that the Minnesota Vikings are 3-4 as we record this edition of Before I Die. And now firmly at 3-4 with the schedule in front of them, back in the playoff race. That's mostly on Kirk Cousins last night. He was brilliant from that interception on.
Kirk Cousins, 6th highest graded passer per PFF. Only Tua, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, and Jared Goff have a better passing grade. Guys, I'm starting to see a little bit of frustration from KOC. I saw it kind of along the sidelines, right? As well toward Kirk Cousins, maybe more than we have seen, right? There was a time when he said, from what I could make out in my brilliant mouth reading, lip syncing skills, pass the effing ball. I mean, do you guys think there's any fray there? Am I reading too much into this? Do I have a little bit too much disdain for Mr. Cousins, or do you think there might be a little bit of fray, despite how brilliantly he may have performed yesterday?
I feel like we don't get a lot of shots of KOC consistently. So like it depends on, like, if it's a Fox telecast and it's a noon game, we probably don't get the same type of shots. So I don't know that indicates a newfound frustration. I think it's just on a Monday night game or a prime time game. There's so many more cameras that get used. No, I mean, I think Kevin has always had a certain level of expectation there for Kirk and probably himself too, because I thought the play calling really had an uptick last night, especially from last week's absolutely brutal game to watch, although it was a win at Chicago. But it's not like Dino, where Dean's always got the camera on him from every regional telecast, and we see that. So I think that Kevin O'Connell is a master of the F-bomb, which I appreciate greatly. I don't think that is, I think last night you just saw it because they actually had the camera probably on both coaches almost the entire game, or one camera.
Yeah, I think he's more of a fiery guy than people think or maybe give him credit for. I think a lot of that gets lost because he is this outgoing, kind of fun-loving personality, but he is very fiery. Last night we got a solo F-bomb from him when the camera was on him, kind of an exasperated F-bomb. We got the get down, go down when Hawk was trying to hobble off the field. We got that. I thought good stuff last night. And by the way, this is kind of an aside from what we're actually talking about here on Before I Die. But Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, I know Vikings fans, I think, have issues with
my
both
thunder
of them.
here, Ross.
Well, here's the thing, though. Maybe it's different. I think as we're recording this, there's actual thunder and lightning, by the way. They've brought an extra say what you want about them. They've brought an extra element of relevancy back to Monday Night Football with that broadcast crew being there. I thought that just adds another layer. I'll be honest. Unless it's an intriguing matchup, and the NFL's done a lot better job in recent years, I don't always watch Monday Night Football, but I have found myself enjoying it a lot more with Buck and Aikman in the booth than Booger McFarland.
And Buck and Aikman giving nothing but love to our boy Kirk. Troy Aikman saying one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. Joe Buck, you walk out of this game, raving about Kirk Cousins. You even have, you guys, Skip Bayless saying, without Justin Jefferson, that just might have been the best game I ever watched Kirk Cousins play. Congratulations. So, guys, big round of applause for the state of Minnesota. Skip Bayless liked that. Let's round of applause. National relevancy for Minnesota. Guys, I will say, before we dive into more good, just one thing that's going to grind my gears. It's just because that's what I do. I like to bring in a little slight negativity. So here's what the Vikings like to do to us, right? We were kind of all in on let's just tank it. Let's crash it. Let's do well next year, right? Justin Jefferson can sit, rest, get better, yada, yada. So now they win and go beat the San Francisco 49ers, a very good San Francisco 49ers. Yes, they were without Debo and some of their top guys, but still a very good 49ers team. Best defense in the country, and the Minnesota offense decided to play. Now they're going to string together a couple more wins, right? They just might F around and make the playoffs now. Why not? I don't like that, you guys, because I want to build for the future. I want a good draft pick. I don't want to have to go through this again next year. Now, we're going to get into this. Jordan Addison looks absolutely clutch and absolutely phenomenal, but I'm a little annoyed. Am I wrong to be just a little annoyed that I kind of had committed to this poor Viking season, and then they were just over here sprinkling a little hope like fairy dust on me, lifting me up into the positivity? No, I don't need that.
That's why I'm in wait and see mode, because here's my thing is you've got 5 of your next 6 games are against teams that are currently under 500. And you've got an opportunity now to reel off a bunch of wins. My thing is, and this goes to all teams in this town, pick a path. Either pick the path of you're going to be really good and you're going to take off, or pick the path of, you know what, bleep it. We're no good, we quit. Because there's nothing worse than if the Vikings lose at Green Bay. But now they can't make any trades because they're like, but we beat San Francisco at the deadline, which is 2 days after the Green Bay game. And then they win a game, and then they lose 2 games. You know what I mean? So if this is who they're going to be, and my God, where has this been? Because you know what this is? For all we talk about luck, they had bad luck and now they've had good luck. You make your own luck. You create your own breaks. What you do is you throw an interception on your first drive. This is the 4th time they've done that. The previous 3, the opponents have scored a touchdown. So what they did this time, though, was they forced a fumble, right? By San Francisco. If San Francisco goes down and scores off that first drive, I guarantee you the game is different. But they forced a fumble. They get it at their own 11-yard line. And what does the offense do? They get right back on the field and they score. That's not luck. That's actually making a play. I feel like the analytics world has come up with this randomness of sports. It's just all random. It's all luck. Well, you create your luck too. So now if this is your path, that's cool, but go on a win streak. Don't give me Sunday, well, we took a step back. No, that's not acceptable. You need to go on a win streak here. My expectations have been raised, and this team needs to meet those expectations now. Or to your point, Jess, it's going to have been all for naught, and it's going to be one win that's almost going to derail what the plan would have been.
Yeah, Jesse, I think it's fair to feel the way that you do feel. I also, to a degree, echo what Judd says. It's okay as a fan to change your expectations and feel differently as a season goes on. I don't think you have to be cookie cutter. Oh, everybody's doing this, so I'm going to do it. You can look at things a different way and be objective. I look at last night's win and say, okay, well, I prefer the Jesse route. It would have been easier as a fan if the Vikings lost yesterday and were 2-5. And then well, they might beat Green Bay, but even if they do, you'd like to think at 3-5, ownership and management knows this isn't really going anywhere. But now to Judd's point, if you slip up and lose to the Packers, ownership and management might say, yeah, but look at everything that's still in front of us. My biggest takeaway from last night is if you don't use that as a springboard to make the playoffs, it's bad. It's bad on so many levels because now more than likely you're going to hover somewhere around 500, even if you miss the playoffs. That's bad for draft pick and for compensation. It's going to be bad if you miss the playoffs at, let's say it's 8-9, because you're going to look at games like the Chargers game that you easily could have and probably should have won. The Buccaneers game, which you could have and probably should have won. So yes, Jesse, I overall agree with you. But now I look at it and say, shame on you, Minnesota Vikings, if you don't use last night as the rallying cry to hold this thing together and get to 10-7, make the playoffs. And oh, by the way, you are going to get Detroit 2 out of the last 3 weeks. There is a chance you can still win this division. So go do it. Prove me wrong, because the one thing I will say, if this team's a wild card team, they're not winning 3 road games in a row to make it to the Super Bowl. You're going to have to win the division, in my opinion. So use last night as the rallying point to make the playoffs.
Worst case is 2020, right? That team looked dead.
Yes,
came out of the bye. They beat the Packers. They went on a win streak, and it's like,
and
okay.
then limped to the finish line.
And then limped to the exactly. So like you need to use this as like if you're serious about what you did last night, and last night without your best player really brings a new standard too. Like that's what we expected. Last night is what we expected from week 1.
Mm-hmm.
Like this, like if you have the ability to do what you did last night without Justin Jefferson, then continue it. Don't just, don't like now slump back into, oh, we couldn't hold on to the football. Woe is us. Feel sorry for me.
And by the way, last night was fun. As somebody who went into the game, I mean, I'll be honest, kind of borderline preferring that the Vikings would lose as the game went on. It was fun. It was fun football to watch. You bought in. You felt good. Classic Vikings, though, when you get 2 first downs, 2 first and goals inside the 2, and you turn neither one into touchdowns, and you kick 2 field goals, I know you both were thinking it too. I went, that's going to maybe be what cost them this football game. But props to them, it did it. Defense stood up. Our guy Cam Bynum, sometimes it's right place at right time. Sometimes it's just being good at what you do. Last night, probably a combo platter of both, but he had a hell of a night.
If that's a playoff game, you lose that game.
You lose that game.
That,
I don't know.
That,
For
that
me,
would have cost you a playoff game.
I'm glad you guys are positive. I need a little tush push to get there, I think. I don't know. I just need just a little tush push.
Also, if it's a playoff game, Trent Williams probably plays. I don't know if Debo does, but Trent Williams probably plays. That could have made a difference. So
good point.
Who knows? But props to the Vikings for winning. They did what almost nobody thought they could do. Yeah. But you know what? That's why they play the game.
Judd, I got to ask you. So obviously watching from home, I believe it was during the third quarter, they cut to break, and all I can hear is, let's go Niners. And it was so loud through the television. What was the atmosphere like? Now, San Francisco obviously has a great fan base that does travel incredibly well, but it felt like there was an overwhelmingly, almost alarmingly amount of San Francisco 49ers in the stands at US Bank Stadium. Accurate?
Oh, yeah. God, yeah. And in fact, just like with the last home game against the Chiefs, it's like early on, they were infiltrating the stadium and you saw them outside. Now, I would say that and it's probably because it was a night game and folks were fueled by a bit more alcohol. I would say that the Niners fans were louder. I did attempt on Twitter or X. I did attempt to humorously tweet, and I knew people wouldn't get it, and I'm still getting corrections today. It's just marvelous. I tweeted, I wasn't surprised when all the Chiefs fans drove up, drove up from KC because it's close. But I am shocked about the amount of fans who have driven the 29 hours from the Bay Area to attend this game. I am still, as of right now, getting. It's going to be funny when Zolgad finds out there's airplanes now, because these people, of course, think I was being really serious about that. I did get tweets that made sense that said some of them were probably Iowa fans of either Kittle or Purdy from Iowa State, which, of course, is Jesse's stomping grounds. Yep. Go Cyclones, yeah. So, but I mean, it was just a lot of flat out Niners fans, and it was impressive. And they got their hands on a ton of tickets. I'm curious now, like the Packers game this year, with the way things are trending, I got a feeling that you won't have as many tickets sold by Vikings fans for that game if the Vikings are back in it. Like if they're really back in it.
Is this a bad look for the Minnesota Vikings fandom and fan base, though, Judd, to now back-to-back weeks have a stadium? Again, I wasn't at either one, but when you're watching on TV, looked a lot like a Rams home game where the other team's fan base takes up half the seats. And I get it. Niners, historic team in the NFL, Kansas City, recency bias. Everybody loves them. They're close to Minneapolis. I get that. But Vikings fans do have a tendency to sell a lot of their tickets to Packers fans. And I do believe this is a legitimately great fan base. But I will say it does look pretty bad the last few weeks. Is it the Skull chant? Is it even at its max as how good it can sound and look on TV? Because, I mean, I don't know. What was the percentage last night, Judd, of Niners fans? 30, 40%? Could it have been that much?
I don't know. It's hard to say because there were huge pockets of them in different areas, including some of the best seats.
Yes.
Here's where I'll defend
like they bought
the
all the
fans.
beautiful people seats, Judd.
Yeah.
They were in all the beautiful people seats last night.
And they probably did, but here's where I'll defend the Vikings fans, okay? That investment now is so huge that if you can make your season ticket money back off, a game or two games, I really have, I go and sit in the press box. It's like when Jess goes to Wild games. We don't pay $150 to go watch a regular season hockey game. So it's really easy for me to say, well, these people shouldn't be selling their tickets, but I don't pay to go, and they do. And there's Ross, there's personal seat licenses now.
Yes. Yep.
So I have a hard time dumping on fans who probably, not everybody who has these tickets is probably rich and they're passionate fans. But if they can make their bones back, if they can make their cash back with a game or two, I'm not going to really rip them for it. It's not fair because they pay so much. If the team wants to charge less and they sell them, we can talk more.
How do you guys feel about Monday Night Football as a whole? I still think it can be pretty cool, but if it was up to me, the Vikings would never play a game not at noon on a Sunday. That to me is a football Sunday.
Yeah, it's because you're old too.
I
That's
know.
true.
I know.
I hate Thursday night football. So
with a passion.
Better than Thursday.
Oh
night.
no, that's
so let's go with that, right? If we need to,
I'm with you on that.
Pick one. Let's stay in our lane there.
I'm over games being played in London and Germany and Europe and Mexico City too, but that's just me.
All for spreading out. The other shining moment, and Ross, I want to lead this into our comments from YouTube because I know our question is very heavy there. Jordan Addison, just a round of applause for him too. Randy Moss, Chris Carter, Stephon Diggs, Adam. Nice. There we go, Judd. And now the Minnesota Vikings have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. How excited are we to have this duo for the immediate future here for a little bit?
Go ahead, Roscoe.
Well, assuming that Justin Jefferson signs a contract extension to stay with the Minnesota Vikings at some point, pretty darn good. Eventually all the names you just mentioned, all great names, but it never paid off with a Super Bowl. So will there come a day where maybe you have to move one of those pieces to make your team better somewhere else? Maybe, but I don't think that day has to come anytime soon because the Vikings aren't going to have to pay Jordan Addison for a handful of years. So they can pay Justin Jefferson while they're not paying Jordan Addison, work the cap number however they need to, and maybe you're still able to keep both of them on the roster years down the road. But yeah, I'll be honest, one of my predictions we did at the beginning of the season was I didn't think he'd finish higher than fourth in the team on receptions. Now, some things have changed that. There's been injuries that have bumped him up a bit in priority, but he's been fantastic, and I would expect that that's only going to get better. This is a position you're not typically always super great at or super impactful in year one. Well, he has been, and the Vikings were lucky that Justin Jefferson was too. And you would expect that only to get better in the weeks and years to come. How lucky are the Vikings to have a player like that to be able to overcome Justin Jefferson not playing for maybe still another 4 to 6 weeks in what, by the way, now might be a playoff race. So they're very lucky in that sense. And we're lucky to be able to watch that. That should have been his second touchdown, should have been an interception. He ripped the ball away from the defender and turned it into a touchdown. It's good stuff.
From the first day that you saw him in training camp, it was clear he was special. Like it was, there's some guys who it looks a little rocky, like they don't run the right routes, which is a difficult thing. It's not some, the college to the pro game is much more advanced in the pro game, obviously. And so it's like, I haven't seen him do anything on the field that I haven't been like, oh, okay, this guy's really good. Is he Jefferson? Time will tell. I think because of his lack of size, he's probably not. Is he a Pro Bowl type receiver? He looks absolutely like that in year one. So, I hesitate to jump on the Carter and Moss comparison yet. That takes years of greatness on both guys' parts. But, Jesse, that being said, I think that we now see why Kevin O'Connell in the video that the Vikings put out when Kwesi was trying to possibly peddle the Vikings first round pick, and O'Connell's like, just make the pick. You've got to make the pick. I think we see why. I mean, this kid does have a touch of special to his game. Now, what's going to happen when Jefferson comes back as far as trying to find a way to use both of them creatively? That's where I challenge Mr. O'Connell to step things up. I thought he did some nice things last night, but I really want to see this offense. And I don't know if Kirk likes it or not. Quite frankly, I don't care. I want to see this offense get more creative and give opponents more things to worry about that you say, wow, that was unique. The play came back, but last night, you know what? The backwards pass to Jordan, threw it across the field to Ty Chandler. Now, Cage Asborn was called for a OPI there, but that's the type of plays that I think, this is really something that can use the skill of these guys. So more creativity is my opinion.
Things I'd love to know that we'll just probably never know the answer to, Judd, when that video is being made about, make the pick. Is that the wide receiver the Vikings wanted all along and they were floored that he was there? Because ahead of Addison, there were 3 wide receivers taken ahead of him, 2 right in front of him. You had Jackson Smith and Najigba go 17th overall. Quentin Johnston from TCU goes 22nd. Zay Flowers goes 23rd. Zay Flowers also having a pretty nice year. But were the Vikings just that ecstatic that he was there? I mean, could there have been another receiver that they wanted? I don't know if we'll ever know, but it seemed like they're genuinely excited, and they were genuinely excited to get Jordan Addison.
Don't you think the coach was just afraid of the fact that the GM might bail back again like he did the previous year? And he's like, take the talent. Take the guy who's talented. Don't get cute.
Let's win on a draft for a change here. Let's give that a go, right?
Let's give us a chance.
And if he wanted a wide receiver, he probably knew what everybody else knew. If we don't draft Jordan Addison, by the time we pick next, you're looking at the likes of Jonathan Mingo, who went, I think, 8th overall in the 2nd round. Jaden Reed, who went to the Packers. Rashee Rice, who's had a nice year for the Kansas City Chiefs, went late in the 2nd round, but then again, he's also playing for the Kansas City Chiefs. So yeah, it's entirely possible that O'Connell wanted a new toy and a new weapon and knew if we don't take this kid now, we're not going to have the chance to get him.
Let's keep the momentum going forward on Jordan Addison with this week's just one comment from YouTube.
Comments from YouTube.
Way to set it up and tee it up, Jesse. You're an absolute
Come
man.
up. Let's go.
With you. From Carlos Lecona, 3210. This is the comment. Is Addison the best rookie wide receiver from the 23 draft class so far? That should be a segment soon, since if I'm not mistaken, he might be. So then my question off of all of our Jordan Addison love, and right now I think the answer is fairly easy. Is Jordan Addison the early favorite to be rookie of the year?
Offensive rookie of the year, yeah.
Jesse, who wants it?
Go ahead, Jesse.
I like it. It's easy to say, right? I don't know if it's recency bias because you're looking at the career night he had on Monday Night Football. And again, that national attention that it draws. But he's done the little things too, kind of quiet. Not, I don't want to say quietly, because certainly us Vikings, as Vikings fans, have noticed it. But he really has lived up to the hype and lived up to the position in which the Minnesota Vikings drafted him. So I don't see why not. Again, I want to, similar to how Judd had mentioned, he wants to continue to see how the weeks play out for your Minnesota Vikings. I want to see how it continues to play out for Jordan Addison, especially when, as Judd also mentioned, JJ does come back. How are both of these players utilized to their full potential? Because if anything, it was more than evident last night that Jordan Addison is a beyond capable receiver, if not an elite receiver, and definitely warrants the conversation to start now. And I'm excited to see what he can continue to do forward. Judley, what do you think?
He is tied for second in the entire league. So forget rookies. He is tied with former Viking Stephon Diggs with 6 touchdown receptions, one behind Miami superstar Tyreek Hill. So he's certainly making a campaign for it. Now, what's interesting is the longer Jefferson is out, the stronger that campaign probably gets, because he bumps up to the top guy. I also think what gives him a chance, and the answer to the question right now about is he the best is yes, he is the best right now, I think. And he's certainly a dynamic player. But the good thing too is, there's no question it takes Kirk some time to develop a chemistry and a trust. Like he has sort of to a misfound, if that's the right word, trust in KJ Osborne.
Mismanaged or misidentified?
Misplaced.
Yes,
Not misfound. Misplaced. How about that? He has a misplaced trust in KJ Osborne, who, by the way, blocks 10 times better than Jordan does. But, as far as a receiver goes, it's probably not even close. And I like the fact that Jefferson's absence has forced that chemistry probably to be accelerated. It was beginning already. I was absolutely thrilled on the first touchdown pass that Jordan caught last night that he was the target of that pass. I thought that was fantastic. But yes, he is definitely, I would say, with his dynamic play, what he's able to do, and the fact that there is obviously such a premium and eye kept on receivers, that he has a shot to be offensive rookie of the year.
I think there's only one other answer here so far on the offensive side of the ball, and if I'm omitting anybody, let me know. This is a quarterback-driven league. They almost always win the MVP, and we could have that debate if the MVP should just be MVQB, most valuable quarterback. No, that would be QB. Sorry, MVQB.
MVQB.
CJ Stroud for the Houston Texans. He has the Houston Texans at 3-3. He's thrown for almost 1,700 yards, has 9 touchdown passes, and only 1 interception. That's a great campaign from a rookie quarterback, and not even the first quarterback taken in the draft. So I think he's obviously in that conversation as well. Gut says if it was between those two, he would probably win it because he's a quarterback. But I don't know how you can't be thrilled with what Jordan Addison's doing. And by the way, he's not a big guy, not a huge target, but he runs good routes. He gets open.
That's what
he
worries
makes
me,
the
though.
catches. Yeah,
His size concerns me because of injury.
Well, minimally, he gets touchdown of the year, right? For ripping that ball out of Ward's hands and taking it to 60 yards. Like, that was unreal. Like that.
And how great.
And the timing, too. Like, when it happened in the game.
How great is that, though, that's the same exact play that he got the ball taken away from him on Cousins' second pass of the game, and a rookie responds with that? Like, that's great. That is a hell of a maturing moment from the first quarter. You could have broken up that play and you failed to, and oh my God, now San Francisco has the ball to screw it. Same guy. I got this one. And then with no high safety, he was off to the races for a 60-yard touchdown. So, I mean, this kid, just as far as a player, he does a lot of things that rookies ordinarily don't do.
Maybe you were going to get there, Jesse, but how have we made it 30 minutes and not talked about the influentialness of Creed helping the Vikings win their last 2 games? And allegedly, Creed is the only reason why the Texas Rangers are going to the World Series. So if we've learned anything, Creed brought the Rangers to the World Series. Perhaps it's going to bring the Vikings to the Super Bowl? I don't know.
Can you take me higher? That's why people are
To
tuning in
again.
now.
Where we haven't been in 50-ish years.
This is
Brilliant.
such an unfortunate fallout of the Rangers' success and the Vikings' recent success.
Hey, it's so true. So true. The first time in what, like 7 years that you don't get a Dodgers or an Astros squad in the mix. So I like that.
I was very proud of myself last night. Dane Mizutani tweeted something about Creed.
Mm-hmm.
And I just retweeted him and said, "Hello, my friend, we tweet again." It's been a while. Where should we begin?
Thank God I ignored Creed then, and I'm ignoring him now.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you were ignoring.
If we're
Ross,
singing, that means it's
also
time for
happened.
me to
Well,
shut up.
yeah,
and
that's
Jesse to
exactly
take the
right.
show back.
Both of them,
Exactly.
Jess.
All right, boys, let's move on to our Before I Dies.
Time now for the Before I Die crew to give us their Before I Dies.
Do you want me? I'll kick off this one if you guys would like.
Go ahead.
Do you guys see this? Look at how new this phone looks, right? It's brand, you know, want to
Nice.
why? Because it's brand spanking new. You want to know
Nice.
why? Because before I die, I'm going to learn to stop taking selfies and propping my phone up in places that they don't belong. Like, for instance, maybe on a pond where there's a beautiful fall foliage behind me. Because you know what happens? Your phone falls into said murky pond that you can no longer get it. I went 47 and a half hours without a phone, boys and girls.
Explain this to me.
Yes. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
What did you do?
So Sunday, as I was driving home from my golf course job, because it was a beautiful Sunday, I've always passed this pond in Matamita, and it's got this beautiful fall setting. And I happened to look very adorable in my plaid outfit and golf skirt that day. And so I walk out onto this dock that has these nice little railings, almost dropped my car keys. And that is when the moment that I should have been like, you know what, maybe we don't take a picture out on this dock. But I said, nay, I am very confident in the way that my pop socket holds on to my phone. And so I propped it up on the railing, walked over to get into my spot. And next thing I hear is splash. And I watched it just gently float on down. Tried to get down to the bottom. I was this close to jumping in, guys. I kid you not. I was like, I could do it. But it's the grossest pond ever. I would have had a disease for sure.
How deep the water do you think?
I think, well, so I went back, tried to get a net, right? I'm going through the motions here. I was like, Googled it. I had 45 minutes to get this phone out of the water before it was donezo anyway. I thought it was only like maybe 5-6 feet. No, there is a whole layer of sludge and like weeds below that. So it had to have been like 8 or 9 feet. So again, that's not even the worst. I have not had a phone for 47 hours, which might sound freeing. No, you know how much we rely on our phones these days? It's awful. I don't know the time. I had to step outside to check the weather yesterday. There are apps for my kids' school that we have griped about on here. Recipes. I mean, it goes beyond the calling. I had to cancel interviews because I was like, yeah, I'll give you a call when I have a phone to do so. I had to cancel radio hits. I mean, it was just, it's been a couple days, guys. It's been a couple days. I almost had to bring my laptop in to morning skate this morning to get interviews done because I don't know where my old school recorder is anymore. So before I die, I'll stop taking fall selfies.
Do you have insurance on the phone?
Yes, I would never tout insurance. I've been meaning to cancel that for about a year now. Never actually did it. Thankfully, I didn't because I was able to get the replacement for just about $100 sent to me. However, discovered they want me to send my phone back, which is at the bottom of a pond.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure out a way around that.
So
if anybody
you have
knows a good way to have fraud for their phone, let me know. If you got an old iPhone 13 that I can send back, it'd be great.
So that phone works now?
This is a new one. Yep.
Got?
It's not set up at all. It's working on getting everything back in my life. It looks like It looks like my fall photo that I did manage to take on Sunday did not make the cut for my iCloud backup, but
Don't
otherwise,
go back and try again. Don't go back and try
Are you
again.
are you now done with this? Because like you
No.
did drop your phone from the XL press box
from the press box. Yeah, that
as
should
like
have
a
been
warning. Yeah.
should have been my first. I literally, as I watched it float, I was like, this is
What does your
like a
husband
press
say about
box.
this?
He's less than thrilled. Like, I rushed home and I was like, we have to go back to the park because I have a phone that you need to help me get out of the water. So we brought the kid, packed him up, hustled on out. I mean, he kind of just laughed. Like, he prefers it this rather than being like, oh, I was drunk somewhere and lost it. Like, I mean, at least it's just kind of
Sure.
Yeah,
silly,
this is just
karmatic.
stuff that happens. On a later date or a later podcast to be determined, I'll tell you both about the time I flushed my stepmom's car keys down the toilet.
Oh, see, that
So,
would,
yep.
not great.
So that stuff happens, Jesse.
I know
Has
the kids were making fun of me. They're like, so you don't have a phone? And they were just so like mind blown by it. Which, one more minor quick story, you guys. So I had the 6-year-old at hockey practice with me yesterday, right? No phone. So no photos can be documented from the day. First person he sees gets a fist bump from Mike Madano. Goes downstairs into the locker room, gets taken by Bill Guerin, gets a little walk around, gets some stick tape, gets some candy, has all of that. Then, because I had to do an interview with Marc-Andre Fleury, gets to try on Marc-Andre Fleury's pads. None of this was documented with photos because I didn't have a phone with me. It
All
was
up here
just,
for him.
yeah.
All up here. That's what you know. What you say,
know-
kid? That's a memory.
You know, Jesse, as the head football coach at the soon-to-be Big Ten West champion Minnesota Golden Gophers, says it's all about moments and memories. You put those moments and memories
I
right
want
up here.
that photo on for me. Selfishly, I want it for me. People be like, "Oh, is that your kid?" Yeah, it's my kid.
What words did Bill teach him?
Quite a few. It was funny. Everybody in the locker room yesterday was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I'm like, "He's my bleeping kid. What do you think he knows? Like, he's fine. He knows."
And
Like,
by the way, drop those F-bombs, folks. Let's hear them.
He's heard it all before. My Before I Die, very quickly. Don't know if you guys saw this. Billy Joe Armstrong of Green Day over the weekend said they're touring next year with the Smashing Pumpkins and Rancid. So one, I will be at that show, but that also shifted my head immediately to a gentleman I've also brought up on this podcast. Before I die, I will see Paul McCartney at least one more time in person, hopefully at an outdoor venue. This one's for all the Wings fans. Looking forward to seeing Green Day hopefully next year with Rancid and the Smashing Pumpkins, and Paul McCartney at least one more time before he dies, because he is getting old.
Paul had just kicked off a European tour?
Yeah.
Okay.
America's got to be soon.
And Green Day just played Target Field a couple of years ago, didn't they?
Yes, it was rescheduled because of the pandy. I don't think it was last summer. It must have been the summer before.
Pandy.
I like that.
I have never been, full disclosure, and they were in my age wheelhouse. I have never been a Smashing Pumpkins fan.
I'm more of a
I'm not a
Rancid
Billy
guy
Cor-
than
I'm not a Billy
Rancid guy than
Corgan.
Smashing Pumpkins.
They were right in my wheelhouse, and I never could get into Billy Corgan.
Yeah, because you're an alt rock
that.
guy, right? You've told me that you're an alt rock guy.
Loved Nirvana, Replacements. Green Day's Dookie, their first,
Yeah.
well, at the time, cassette was fantastic.
Yeah.
Loved those. In fact, I saw them at Roy Wilkins supporting that as a very young
Really?
band. They were great. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah.
Saw Nirvana there, Roy Wilkins, right a
Oh.
few months before Kurt Cobain died.
I did
You
not
Pearl
know
Jam
ever
guy
saw
too?
that.
Then I love me some Pearl
You know,
Jam.
I'm not because I my thing with Corrigan and Vetter, I've never been big fans of their. I've never been big fans of their voices.
I'm
a bigger
why you don't
Pearl.
like Creed.
I'm a bigger Vetter fan than Corrigan though. Like, and
I
I've
love
grown
Eddie
to appreciate him, and he does some great stuff.
You know what Vetter does though that I just think is so great? I've seen Pearl Jam twice. I think he does it every show. Walks out with a bottle of wine. You know, he's just sipping on wine during the entire show. I love that.
I saw Guided by Voices at First Avenue in about 1993. They took on stage a full cooler of beer and just drank beer the entire.
There we go.
They would
That's
just
good
go
stuff.
on ice, and between songs they'd go back and pop a beer, start to drink, and just keep playing. It was just
That's good
outstanding.
stuff.
I'm going to go to the obvious one for me because before I saw a very competitive, fun football game on Monday, I saw the Gophers play Iowa on Saturday. And before I die, we're going to get rid of the stupidest rule that ever existed. Don't tell me it's not, which is you signaled for an involuntary fair catch when you didn't. And by the way, Seifert and I looked this up. The NFL does not have this rule. Like, you have to put your hand above your head there, right? But the college rule is you can't be motioning your arm, and even if it's below your shoulder. And that caused one of the great punt returns of all time by the Iowa Hawkeyes, in which the Gophers actually tried and looked like a Stooges skit, Three Stooges skit. We're going to get rid of that incredibly stupid rule, and a fair catch is going to be your hand above your head, or else it's not a fair catch.
Did you see the new controversy surrounding that game that I saw just for the first time a few hours ago? We had a Iowa lineman leave his feet to try and jump over a lineman to block a punt, which also should have been a 15-yard penalty that would have given the Gophers a first down.
Yeah, he didn't get over him.
So
I'm watching it right now. Yeah.
So we had a lot of issues with that punt. At the end of the day, I think the final score still shows the Gophers won the game, right?
Yeah. Who hates Iowa? We hate Iowa.
I've never liked that chant. I won't participate.
Oh, I will. I'll do a double down. Worst fan. How did the fans treat you, especially after this loss?
Yeah, Judd, how were they?
Iowa City were they?
Yeah, they were great to me.
They were mean people.
We were making fun of both the teams because they both suck. So I was mocking the Gophers, and they were mocking the Hawkeyes. It worked out perfect.
The broadcast showed from a tailgate, and I was looking for Judd. There was a band out there, and I forgot what they called it, but to Van Halen's Might As Well Jump, they've replaced it to Punt. So it was Might As Well Punt.
They hate that. They hate their team. The Fire Brian chants for offensive coordinator Brian Ferentz were just fantastic.
It's a great place to watch a football game. Anybody who hasn't been to Kinnick should go.
So do we
first go to Ames, and then
we'll go to Ames too. Yeah. Ames is great.
Do we hate Iowa Hawkeyes fans more than we hate Wisconsin Badger fans?
Oh, I don't.
I do.
No, not me.
Okay.
I tolerate Iowa. I don't really have much against Iowa. I can't stand the Badgers.
Because we're having just fun aside conversations for all of those out there. My problem is Wisconsin fans I have chirped and jabbed with in a friendly manner. Like, I've played Flip Cup Minnesota versus Wisconsin before. We have a grand old time, and I've done this in Madison. I went to Iowa City as an Iowa State Cyclone one time, got beer poured on my head as we walked into a bar. Like, anytime you were wearing non-Iowa, like me, like I am all for ribbing. I am all for chirping and having a good old time. But the Hawkeye fans they remind me of like North Dakota fans in hockey. Like, it's all they got, and they're just angry. They're just angry people. Maybe
they're angry right now.
But yes. And so I was just thinking, angry. I was like, that has to be a nightmare down there in Iowa City if you're not a Hawkeye.
You know, Jesse, what Iowa State has or Ames has that Iowa City will never have.
Pride and honor and like, I don't know what would it be.
Hickory Park.
They do have Hickory Park too.
Hickory Park is a great spot.
So when I first met Dawn in 89, shortly after I met her, we went to Ames because she had just gotten out of school like a year and a half before. So she still had friends there. And so we drove down there and went to Hickory Park, and it was a life-changing experience.
It's so good.
Iowa State still had varsity baseball at the time because we stopped by.
R.I.P. I had somebody try to tell me that he played baseball for Iowa State. It's like, you didn't. And he's like, yeah, from 2006 to 2011. I was like, no, you did. They didn't have baseball.
It's been gone since the 90s.
They didn't even have a club team. Like, I'm like, this is nice try, homeboy, but like, you did it. So
it's the same as Wisconsin. They abandoned baseball years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Take it from me. If you're going to try and woo a woman with a fake story, you better be damn sure that fake story can be real.
Yes, right.
Do your homework, guys.
Like, oh boy.
Well, you know what the problem is? Google.
Yeah.
Well,
Google's
ruined
there.
it.
Google it now.
It's ruined it. Yep.
I was there during that time. I know there was no baseball. I covered every sport.
Well, he assumed you didn't know sports at all, I'm sure.
The woman thing. I get it.
He assumed you wouldn't know sports.
Yeah,
and the problem is you do know sports.
Just a woman that don't know anything.
No, we just cook and clean. So speaking of cooking and cleaning, can't wait for the Vikings to clean house coming up. No, that sounds wrong. That's not what I meant. I meant whatever. We got to end the show.
You meant beat the Packers.
Beat the Packers. I meant beat the Packers, not clean house. We want to keep the players. We're going to beat the Packers, clean the pet. Yeah. We're going to have a great rest of our week. And thanks for checking in again. Always comment, subscribe, rate, give us all the love you can. Check out all the other Purple Daily content, including Before I Die, happening usually on Mondays, unless there's a Monday Night Vikings football game, hence Tuesday's release today. That's going to do it. Skol Vikes.
About dang time we get a win in Hennepin County.